Hi, today we are going to talk about the Comrades Marathon course, and in particular we are going to look at the down run. And for this, it's probably a good idea that we meet somewhere at the start of the race to get an overall picture of what the course looks like. Yes, it's the down run, but be warned that from Pietermaritzburg at the start to the halfway mark at Drummond, it lies roughly on the same level above sea level, 600 meters, and that's over 50 kilometers more or less. So the first half of the race, it doesn't even look like a down run. So this is essentially a race, a story of two halves. All the drama and all the dramatic changes of this race take place in the second half of the race. And just to give you some sort of idea, there, from the top of Botha's Hill to the gates of Durban at Westville, it's only 25 kilometers, but the drop is over 600 meters. And in any seasoned campaigner's language, that's a monumental drop that will rattle the fillings in your teeth. So really the down run is all about the damage that your body takes on the descent. And I would call it then the descent damage ratio. There are 5 major hills on the Comrades Marathon, and we measure them. We have a look at the length of the hill, we look at the height of the hill, and we look at the distance that hill is from the start of the race, and we can then calculate what a damage descent or a descent damage ratio really looks like. And we'll talk about that on our way down. So let's start at the beginning, and let me give you some advice before you even start looking at the course. And the first piece of advice is on the first half of the race, is to protect yourself for the second half, because it is going to take it out of your body. The second piece of advice I can give to you is that there comes a big surprise for the uninitiated. The marker boards, surprise, surprise, are counted backwards, which means when you run out of Pietermaritzburg on that fateful morning, the first marker board you are going to see is 89 kilometers to go. So they count them backwards. And be aware of this, because it's very easy to get lost on the course. And my advice from this is, don't worry too much about the marker boards. Rather run from landmark to landmark. And we will point out what the important landmarks are on the way down. The third piece of advice I would give to you is to drive the course. Yes, if it is possible, to drive the course, because in that way you can first of all familiarize yourself with some of those landmarks. Secondly, it would give you the right amount of respect that this course deserves, and hopefully by the time you have finished that drive, you will be terrified, which means you will go into the start with the kind of caution that this race really demands. Now, the start is huge, and it can be absolutely daunting. And this is a gun-to-gun race, and it takes approximately 7 to 10 minutes to clear the start, especially in Pietermaritzburg, where the roads are a little bit narrow. And so just be aware of this. And my piece of advice here is, don't panic. It's okay. That kind of time you can make up on the way down, and don't try and make it up in the first 5 kilometers. One way you can do this is that if you take a drinks bottle with you with your favorite drinks mix, take it with you, and it means that you can miss out 1, 2, maybe even 3 drinks tables on the early stages of the race, and thereby you can steal yourselves 1 or 2 minutes. It means that you don't get caught up in all that early morning congestion either. And be aware that the Pietermaritzburg start is generally quite cold. So take with you a long sleeve t-shirt, not your favorite one that you do intend to throw away. And as the morning warms up, then you can just peel it off and throw it to the side. And I know that there will be a lot of people who will appreciate your long sleeve sweaty t-shirt. The run out of Pietermaritzburg can be a bit tricky. The roads are a little bit narrow, especially when you run through the suburbs of Pietermaritzburg. As you run the way out, it's pretty dark, and there's a lot of debris on the road that are being dropped by runners on their way out. So just watch your footing and be careful. But it's not long. Only 8 kilometers into the race is you will be introduced to the first of the big 5 hills that appear on the Comrades Marathon course. And this one is Polly Shorts. Now, on the way out, it's a pretty simple matter. And as you run on the way down this hill, all the seasoned campaigners that ran last year's race will probably have something to say about the trials and the tribulations that this hill gave them on the way up last year. But that's not for us to worry now. It's a hill that is about 2 kilometers long. It's pretty high. It's 120 meters high, which means it's a steep hill. So you got to watch your footing and be careful as you run down, but it only gives you a damage ratio of about 1 out of 10. So pretty easy to run down. You can say, hi, we'll meet each other next year, as you make your way to Mpushini Bridge at the bottom and then on out to Ashburton. It's a gentle pull there. It can get pretty cold in those valleys in the early mornings, so you might not have thrown away your t-shirt yet. And now you are making your way to Umlaas Road. Now you can see the water tower of Umlaas Road on the hill from about 5 kilometers out. It's about 25 kilometers into the race, so if you're looking at the marker boards, about 65, 69 kilometers to go. And here I would say is a good idea to have a planned walk. Very often people say, yeah, do you walk in Comrades? Yes, you have planned walks, and if you haven't had one already, as you are approaching Umlaas Road, it is a good idea to have yourself that planned walk. From Umlaas Road, you then make your way down to Camperdown. That's about 30 kilometers into the race. And here you have to be careful because there are huge crowds. They are dense. This is a small little hamlet, and the crowds are crammed into the streets. There is music, there is braaiing, and there is a tendency there that you get caught up in the excitement. And my advice here is don't, because if you push yourself at this point and you suddenly find that you're running at a faster pace than you wanted to, and next thing you are going to be 3 or 4 or 5 minutes ahead of your running schedule, that can be dangerous, because every minute that you're ahead of schedule at this point will be paid for fivefold on the back end of this race. Once you have left Camperdown, it quietens down a little. You run on to, you got ahead of you Cato Ridge and the Harrison Flats. It's quiet. Generally, the crowds are a lot thinner there. There is the smell of the kakibos in the morning. It's still pretty cool. It's time just to settle down and get your pacing right as you head on your way to the next major hill, which is Inchanga. But before you get to Inchanga, there is the Intambeni School. Now, this is a school for the handicapped, and every year the pupils at the school, they turn out in their crowds, where they on their crutches, they are on their wheelchairs, and the enthusiasm that greets you there is quite something, and it is palpable. It will keep your spirits lifted almost to the end of the race, but certainly it will carry you over the next challenge. Now, Inchanga is quite tricky to get over. It's about 2.5 kilometers long. It's steep. It's 140 meters high, and once you get over the top, the drop into Drummond is quite punishing, and I give it a descent damage ratio of 4 out of 10. It's there you will run through the marathon mark, so you can at least put your first marathon behind you as you wend your way off finally to the halfway mark at Drummond. Well, we have made it to Drummond. Welcome, and this is the halfway mark. There is great excitement at Drummond. The crowds are thick, the braai smoke is thick, the music is loud, and it's a good time just to take stock and see where you are in terms of your schedule. And this is the time when, in the second half, we will now enter into the soul of the Comrades Marathon, and we take on the difficult task of running down the 3 gargantuan hills. And as you pull out of the Drummond Bowl, we are first going to come across Arthur's seat. Now, Arthur Newton was the first Comrades great. He won the race 5 times back in the 1920s. And it is said that his ghost, his pipe-smoking ghost, comes and sits in this little culvert outside of Drummond, and he waits on all the runners that run past him. And it's important that you take a flower, drop it on his seat, bid him good morning, and if you don't, it is said that your second half of the race is not going to go well. So don't take any chances there. A little bit further on comes the Comrades Marathon Wall of Honor. And anybody who has finished the race even once is entitled then to buy a brick and have it put with their name and their race number onto this wall of honor, where you will then be remembered in perpetuity. And then you make your way onwards to Botha's Hill. This is the third of the big 5 hills. It comes into the race about 52 kilometers. It's over 2 kilometers long, so it's quite a longish hill, all the way downhill now. It's 120 meters high, and so it begins to be one of the first of the real punishing hills. It gets a descent damage ratio of 6 out of 10. Halfway down, you will see Kearsney College, and all the scholars from the college come out with their straw bashes and their blazers, and they sing beautifully on your way down. And it is really in quite a contrast to the Entambeni school that you passed on your way up in Changa. Then 12 kilometers on comes Fields Hill. Now this one is a monster. It's 65 kilometers into the race. It's over 3 kilometers long. It's 186 kilometers high, and it gets a damage descent ratio of 9 out of 10. And I am going to leave it to my good friend Tim Noakes from his book, The Law of Running, to tell you what he thinks of Fields Hill.
At the top of Fields Hill, the Comrades plays its most evil trick. Experience tells me not to look, that should I for 1 second divert my eyes from the road, I will most likely not finish. But I have no discipline, and I see it laid before me, the final infinite 25 kilometers that separate me from Durban and the finish at the Kingsmead ground. And Tim goes on to say this: were the human brain able to recall the pain of Fields Hill, no one would ever run the down Comrades twice.
Once you have come off Fields Hill, then you run into the town of Pinetown. And here, I've always warned about being sucked along by the crowds. The crowds here will pull you along, because once you have been softened up by that mighty hill that is now behind you, these people that stand and line the streets of Pinetown will pull you along, because now you are not that far from Durban. Along that main road is 21 kilometers to go, and ahead of you is the last of the big 5 hills, and that is Cowie's Hill. It's about 72 kilometers into the race, almost done now. It is 2 kilometers high and 2 kilometers on the other side. It's not all that steep. It's 100 meters high, and so it gets a damage descent ratio of only 5. But once you're over that, then it is the highway, and this is hot, difficult territory, but you're almost there. Just hang in. And as long as you keep moving forward at this point, the middle is yours. The last little hill. And it stands as a bastion in front of Durban, is the pull-up toll gate. You will see it. It's a great big bridge that goes over the highway. You run under this bridge, and in front of you now is the sea, and you can't miss the stadium out on your left. Only 5 kilometers to go, and finally the run into Kingsmead Stadium.